Hello ladies, welcome to Homemakers Radio. I hope you get a lot done while you listen today, and I hope that what I say, although it's just my opinion and it's just for your entertainment, might be able to inspire you or give you some ideas of your own. Before you go and start washing something, sorting something, cleaning something, or doing some kind of work, I want to show you my teacup. It's from Gracie's Teaware, and it was from Home Goods Before Captivity. Welcome to Homemakers Radio, and welcome to the Manse. And today I have a lot of things to tell you, and I hope I can last long enough with my voice and my recall so that you can get at least a room cleaned up. I'm in the guest room right now because it's very quiet in here, and we are having such a windy day that the whistling at the door was just more than I could stand, so I've locked myself up back here. Now the first thing that we do is, and welcome to the Manse, by the way, and I'm broadcasting from captivity where I'm trying to thrive, and I'm trying to encourage all of you to thrive through all this captivity and come out of the other side brighter and stronger and more innovative and more creative and just on top of everything, and just be able to conquer just about anything. And I think, of course, we've seen the captives in the Bible, and when God was with them, there was no limit to what they could do, and they even helped their captors. So today I would like to encourage you to be prepared for your day, and that means getting dressed. Now I'm wearing I've always wanted this April Cornell dress, and I had tried it on in a real fancy exclusive dress shop years ago, and I think it was like $240, and we were joking about how we should just get two of them as such a bargain, but I found it online and used, but it was quite a bit cheaper. But I would wear an apron over it if I actually did housework in it. Actually, I got dressed up for you in this. I probably won't wear it when I go get ready to go clean one of those rooms that's really been bothering me, and I will put on something that put on my plaid shirt and my black skirt. So preparation is so important to get dressed and get dressed up in a way that the clothing makes you happy, the colors make you happy, because preparation and your appearance is for your state of mind, and your state of mind is so important for the home, because now you know home is everything. You're going to be here. You cannot be miserable, and you'll make other people miserable around you. We need to make the home shine and come out of the other side of this better for having been at home. And many of you, I think, will wish we had more time when this is all over. And some of you will realize a lot of time that was lost because you weren't home. Now, I've been in captivity since July the 4th last year, and I still have not gone postal, and I still have not wanted to go somewhere and push a cart and load it up with groceries. I order everything. I'm enjoying food from Imperfect Foods. If your country or state or province has that company, get online and see if you can order some foods. The foods aren't imperfect, they're all organic, but they have maybe been labeled wrong, or some other technical, or the barcode wasn't right. And so they are delicious, and then I feel so royal because they come to the door in a box, and sometime when they come to the door, I'll do an unboxing for you so you can see. Kind of exciting, you know, because I didn't have to put them in the cart, and I didn't have to go to the store and listen to the overhead state announcements and all the propaganda that comes out of the announcements, and all the racket type music, which we call noisic. It just was getting me such brain fog that when I came home, I used to have to sit there for a while before I could focus again. So I'm not missing that part. There are a few things I would have liked to have done, but I found out I could do it online. And I'm not getting tired of my home. I'm not getting restless. Of course, I live out in the country, ladies, and I have plenty to do and plenty of other things to do around this farmland here. And I'm appreciating it more. I'm taking an art class, and I'm learning how to paint the creation around me, and maybe I'll even teach my children and my grandchildren and I'm also taking an exercise class and a lot of other things I have tried, but I couldn't book the whole day up full of classes, so I narrowed it down to the two things that benefited me the most, and one was the art class and one was the exercises. And I have found that the exercises, which I call mood lifters, if I skip them for very long, my mind is not as alert. So if you want to be able to be an able person as you grow older, and some of us who are elderly start thinking about, what's going to happen to us and where we're going to spend our last days. You don't have to do that. You can stay home and you can be upright and you can be fit and you can take care of yourself and not be a burden on anyone else. Now, last time when I made a comment about how we don't want to get so stiff from lack of exercise and lack of nutrition, we don't want to lose our bodies to go into atrophy, and so that people have to have a Hoyer lift and all kinds of stuff to pick us up and move us and take us to the bathroom and feed us. We don't want that to happen. So that's why we're trying to be as healthy as we can. And I've heard people say, well, my kids will take care of me because I took care of them. But listen, ladies, if you've never looked after an elderly person, I will tell you how different that is than taking care of a baby or children. Children get healthier and grow up and learn to look after themselves. Whereas an elderly person who's gone into where they can't care for themselves will never recover and will become very difficult to look after and clean up after and take to the shower and feed. They're not the same as, it's not as delightful as children, and if you could possibly avoid that and be home, then do as I suggest and go get those exercises. I have chosen one that I like, and I've mentioned it before. It's Fabulous 50s, and she has the beautiful Botany Bay in the background, and she does some chair exercises, which I like, and I also have graduated to standing exercises and abs exercise. I know glutes and abs, I know all this stuff now. I've even done floor exercises, and I can do them. I can actually do things that I never thought possible. And I'm getting elderly, but it did take me a while. It just little by little, and so this is part of your preparation. So get dressed and do your exercises. I always have some exercise clothes that I wear, but I think it's really important for your state of mind, because your state of mind will be determined to a great deal by your nutrition and your physical fitness, and it determines the quality of your work. Your state of mind will determine the quality of your work, and also it will maintain your interest in something besides work. And I suggest that all of you have something that you can have a passionate interest in, just for a while at least. I don't say that you have to be an artist forever, or that you have to dabble in jewelry making and just make it forever. Some people just like a little bit of this, and they'll do something for a while, and then they learned how to do it, and they want to learn something else, and they'll move on. Other people will accuse them of being unstable because they've moved on and they wanted to try something else, or maybe they published a magazine for a while, but then they learned how to do that, and they lost interest, and they went on to something else. There's nothing wrong with that, but do have things that you can do. Look up. I've been watching more things and learning more, and really enjoying it for mind stimulation. And so ask for God's guidance. If you're worrying about, if you're unable to be focused, ask for God's guidance. I've heard several women that I know who have quit work after a lifetime of being in a career, saying that when they came home, they didn't know where to start in the day, how to order their day. It's very important to be good managers of time. If you have worked outside of the home, look at how they manage time at work. You didn't just go in there and say, okay, where do I start? There was always a starting point. You can do that at home, and you can do it with your list. So even if the list isn't from hour to hour, at least there's a list there that you can go to and do the next thing on the list. And some people thrive on that. Other people are more mood oriented, and they'll do something when it seems like the best time to do it. But become a good manager of time by having a watch or a clock or a timer, and see how long it takes you to get something done. That's always, when my children were younger, that was really made it enjoyable to work, was to set the timer and see how long we didn't try to see how fast we could put something away or make a bed. We saw how long it took, instead of a contest for being how fast can you do it and let's beat the clock. It was, let's do this at a reasonable rate and enjoy it, and then let's look and see actual how much time it took, rather than rushing people around. I don't believe in that. And a routine can help. I don't have a 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock type of schedule, but I generally, when I write things down, am thinking about what needs to be done first. I'll write down preparation, and then I'll write down, the house routine, which would be go around to the kitchen, the bathroom, and the laundry room and see that that is all cleaned up and sanitary, because that's where your water is, and that's the thing you'll have to watch the most for sanitation and to clean the most. So get that all cleaned up, and then list some things that you like to do that aren't mundane, so that you will have a goal after you have finished your the work that you have to do. You'll have a goal of something you want to sit down and do. Now, I have always envisioned the elderly becoming elderly. My vision of it was a rocking chair with every color wool yarn I could find, and I would make all the cardigans I wanted. I would knit them, and they'd be in all these colors that I loved. And so far, I haven't been able to even sit down long enough to knit. But that was always my goal. I always thought an elderly person would have time to do that. And as we get older, ladies, I think you're discovering that there is so much to do. And if you're young, get in habits, get in good habits, and regulate your time and be a good manager of time. Study time. Study how much time it takes to do something. One of the things they had us do in the original course, Sidetracked Home Executives, was to make a list of things that had to be done. I've got to make my bed, wash my dishes, sweep the floor, prepare a meal. And what they had you do is to time each thing. You weren't trying to beat the clock, you weren't trying to hurry, just to see how long it would take. And what that did was break us of this mindset that some jobs were just overwhelming. We'd look at a pile of stuff and say that, and we put it off from day to day because it just looked too overwhelming. It looked like we'd have to have a day worth of time to do it. But they said do it and then watch the time and write it down, and some things only took 5 minutes. And what this did was really opened up my brain for how a job, you cannot estimate it exactly by its size, because sometimes it only took 5 minutes to put something away. I had a shelf years ago that it must have been just piled with stuff. It was one of those upper shelves in a room, just piled with stuff there for several years, and I'd look at that and think, I can't clean that. It's so overwhelming. And one day I decided to do it, and I timed myself. It took me 20 minutes to get all that stuff that had been bothering me for years. And so time yourself. So if you're young, when you're getting ready to do something, even getting ready in the morning, time yourself in the bathroom, time yourself with your hair, time yourself, so you get an idea of how much time it really takes. A lot of us look at it as more overwhelming than it actually is. So now I want to talk a little bit today about decor, because some people have asked me, because they don't decorate. You don't have to decorate, but I'll tell you something about how you get decor. You have a couch, you have a rug, and you have a lamp, and you have a table. Those things are actually your decor, because you usually try to buy something you like, or you've got your grandmother's whatever, and you have furniture that you like. That's your decor, and that's why you choose it according to what you like to look at. And so that's all decor is. So you don't have to have all those decorating items. You can have just your furniture, just things you need and the things you actually have, and that's your decor. For example, when I was really young, I wanted a bedspread, and the reason is it adds an extra blanket, but it also adds to the decor. So your outer blanket is your decor. It's your bedspread. One thing that I do, now I said you need to list some things that are not, that take away the sameness of everything. Take away the list things to do that are not not mundane. You have to do some things that are repetitive. You have to get those out of the way, but list some things that aren't. And we're going to talk a little bit about alleviating stress today too. But one of the things I decided to do years ago, and I got this idea. You know, I saved these old Victoria magazines from the 1980s and the 1990s, and I've got them in plastic sleeves, and some of them I had to, they came apart, so I had to put them into notebooks. But the reason that I saved them is because every month, like this is the month of March still, and then April's coming really soon, as I get all of April's issues out for the last 20 years, and I'll set them on a table and go through them. And some people have said, oh, I feel so sorry for you, you have to go through those old issues, but they're just as interesting to me, and they're particularly calming. The further back they go, the more calming they are. And all they were was pictures and little vignettes and little like descriptions, and that was all. It doesn't sound intelligent to you, but I think we overemphasize intelligence over the heart and over the emotion and over our own stability. And so they were calming to me. And when we used to go to my husband's Aunt Maud's farmhouse in the summer to visit in Kansas, she kept, her children had grown, but she kept all the rooms, and they had quite a few bedrooms upstairs, and she kept all the rooms just the way they were, and there were old books and magazines and publications up there from the 1950s. She just left everything the way it was because, you know, she'd gotten busy with the farm and other things, and life goes on. But whenever we would go, I would look through those, and I remember they were there the last year, but they were just as interesting to me the next year that we were there. And I didn't think, oh, she should get some updated magazines. I really enjoyed the older issues. Well, I have found out that that's the way it is around my house too. I really enjoy these older issues, and so that is one way that I do something in my home that's calming, is I put things around that give me a feeling of history, and also if they're not too if it's not something that brings up bad memories, something that brings up something good. And so that I do save some of the older issues. And so saving old publications can be a help when you need to settle down or when you need to take away the stress. And I was watching, remember I mentioned last time I was here, this Dr. Berg on YouTube that talked about nutrition. And he was talking about the skin in one of his videos, and I was quite surprised to see that skin problems were caused by a deficiency in certain nutrients, and one of them was vitamin C, and that how your body used up a lot of nutrients when you were in distress or worrying or because do you know that even breathing, I noticed with these breathing the stretch exercises and the breathing, it is important to listen to this woman who's conducting the exercises, because she will tell you how to breathe and how to hold the core of your body in, and how to do things. You will have to listen to some of the instruction. And whenever you think of a news report, a media report, and they're getting worse, and I told you, when they figure out that we've all kind of gotten comfortable at home and we're content and we're settled down, and many of us are actually happy and developing ourselves and learning new skills and sewing and preparing food and learning about life, they find out that we're no longer in a state of apprehension. They broadcast something else that will get us all upset. Well, I was unfortunately able to hear one of the recent things that have come up that are quite distressing, and I noticed that my breathing started to become real shallow, and it was up in here instead of in my tummy like a baby when a baby breathes. the breathing is is just tight. You get tight in your chest, and that apparently uses up a lot of nutrients. And so I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense, and that's why people who are troubled will often have skin problems. And so I think it's really important to understand your health, because that is what is going to keep your body going and keep because you're the machinery that's going to run this home. You have got to look after yourself. Now you probably think, I don't have time to spend a lot of time with myself because I've got to get busy. But you know, if you're not going out anymore and you're not going to work outside of the home, you do have time. It will take some time, at least 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, and it might be intermittently. You know, maybe you take 15 minutes to go fix your hair and brush your teeth, and then you do something else, and then you take another 15 minutes to do some exercises, and then you take another 15 minutes to do something else. It might take up to an hour to really completely take care of yourself, but that is really, really important. If you don't start now, when you're younger, you will not have the habit, and you will not know how to take care of yourself, and you will just give yourself a brush, and then, you know, just always look tired, always look unkempt, always look totally worn out and overworked. Even if you are, I think it's good to disguise that a little bit. I think I might have to go and get my phone wherever I left it, and because I was going to read to you about the gentleman again. Remember last time I read to you about that? And so I might have to excuse myself and go get that in a minute. I found something about children here that I wanted to read to you. For one thing, wouldn't it be nice to come out of the other side of all this political stuff with having a few children that you raised the last couple of years that didn't know anything about it, if you could keep it from them? And that's why homeschooling is so important, because you don't have to go put them in a school with a lot of other commotion and children and rules, and dull their senses and dull their eyes, and then all the stuff going on, you know, with the war, and to keep them away from stress, because they're going to show stress a lot more easily. And you might not think that they are under stress, because they do adapt, but it's very important to let children have a happy, carefree childhood, free from the worry of the end of the world, and free from the worry of the media. And the best way to do that is to keep them home, and you can teach them more than you know. You don't have to know higher math, and you don't have to know chemistry. All that stuff, you can get kits, and you can get things sent to you that instruct you carefully how to use it. You don't really have to send them. And so I want to talk about children a little bit. If you have ever thought that you were sorry that you did not really have much of a plan for your children when they got older, most of us were kind of waiting, and depending on what jobs would turn up or what kind of education or career would happen, and we just kind of went with that and let the rest of the world kind of provide it for us. But you know, you can, if you're just now raising children or before you have children, you can start making a plan so that they can work in a career that they're interested in from their home or with their father's business. And you start that now. Start planning for that now. And if you already have, your children have already grown and gone, you can still do that. You can still put aside money for them, because as times get harder, they'll want a place to go, and they will need your care. And so you want to start doing that anyway. And I want to read a little poem from I got this catalog, and I forget what trying to think what it's called. Well, it's a catalog called KP Creek Gifts, and it just has farmhouse style decor in it. And it had a little plaque that I want to read to you. Now remember, I had told you over time about childhood and how it's so limited. Childhood is so fleeting. And how many of you would like to go back and relive your childhood and and do it right this time, and enjoy it more and appreciate it more. I think a lot of times we didn't appreciate. There are a lot of things that my father and mother provided for us that I didn't really think about till years later. But yet, in times of stress, it's wonderful if you had a happy, carefree childhood to just let your mind escape back to it and kind of relive some of the kindness and the good old days. And if you can give your child a carefree childhood, you're giving them a lot of strength for future stress, because that happy, carefree childhood makes them happy all the time, and they can get through a lot of things. So I said, make sure that they have a happy, carefree childhood, free from worry and heavy responsibility. And what that will do for you is you will think, when somebody has a suggestion that you do this with your child, or you send them here, or you do this, or you let them watch this, or you need to think, okay, is this going to give them that happy, carefree childhood, or is it going to worry them? Is it going to put stress on them? So that's how you develop this value system about your home and your children, is does it fall in line with a happy, carefree childhood? And it doesn't mean that it's free from responsibility. They will have to learn to take care of themselves and to grow up. But you understand what I'm saying is, do not add any unnecessary stress to their lives. And they will be stronger for that as children. So here's the little poem that I found in this magazine. It was a plaque to hang on the wall. It says, let them be little. It doesn't have an author here. Let them be little, 'cause they're only that way for a while. Yes, that's what I said. Childhood is so fleeting. It is so fleeting. Let them be children while they're children, and don't rush them into being adults at an early age. Don't worry them about, having to run the world, or having to be responsible for a lot of things. Let them be little, 'cause they're only that way for a while. Give them hope. Give them praise. Give them love every day. Let them cry. Let them giggle. Let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. Well, we kids never had any trouble sleeping in the middle, because we sometimes all got into bed together to keep warm in those dark winter nights on the homestead. And also, as parents, many of us let our children sleep in the middle. They'd come in the morning, and they really enjoyed that. And so, although they liked their own little rooms. So I wanted to read that to you. And so this is going to help them prepare for hard times if they can have a good, solid, carefree, well-balanced childhood without a lot of upheaval, without a lot of stress on them. And they feel the stress, believe me, when there's something going on in the home where the mother especially is upset. And I think it's really important to try to be calm, and I'm going to tell you more about my little calm plan here. That is that I had this idea when I was talking about decor a while back, and I talked about how, it's something as simple as your bed and your end table and your lamp. That can just be decor. You don't have to have all these extra little embellishments. But I was wondering, farmhouse decor has kind of run its course, and they always like to invent something else just to keep the economy going. So, but why they have over the years, they went from formal to informal to shabby chic to country to farmhouse and cottage, and why they have overlooked homestead. I suppose that there are not enough people that actually lived on a homestead to show you what there was in those rooms that they could manufacture and create a look with. But I'm just wondering why they have neglected the homestead look in the log houses, and why that is. Well, you can't see those at Hobby Lobby yet, but I think that we should invent that. Now, if you're staying home, you've probably realized by now that you are living your daily life in the midst of unbelieving and rude people. I know some of you have to go out, or maybe you are home like I am, but you still have to deal sometimes with attitudes of people you know, or if you're doing business on the phone or online, and you'll be living your daily life in the midst of these people that can be very upsetting. And one of the things that I have found out is that if you can do it yourself, then you avoid a lot of the contention, the dissatisfaction, and the litigation that comes from having to return something, or not being happy with a service, is to learn to do it yourself. Now, before the war and before captivity, it was life was actually pretty easy because we depended on the world out there to take care of a lot of our needs, and in service and products. You get your hair done, you get your clothes made already, you get products for your home to clean it with. Well, what do you do without all this stuff? And even for homeschooling, you order your books and you got your curriculum already made. The do-it-yourself business is going to be big because there's going to be more of us doing it ourselves. And that takes away a lot of the stress and aggravation of dealing with products and things and services and people that aren't very nice. And we don't need more of that, do we? So you can learn to do something yourself. That is just excellent. One of the things that I'm doing now is preparing for a visit to the manse, in which some of my downline, those are my descendants, are going to be coming for a few days. And so what I have decided to do is turn the manse into an inn at Calm Village. Now, Calm Village is just anywhere someone has a house that they have turned into something, some kind of facility like a bed and breakfast, or their own family, for their family, something for their family, like maybe they have a school in there, or they have a restaurant in there, or they have a garden. And so you can be part of Calm Village in your own home. You just kind of name your house. And so I have the manse here, which is an inn at Calm Village. And so it's a combination between the Inn of the Sixth Happiness and Fantasy Island. So what I decided to do, in fact, I didn't get any sleep last night and I kept looking at the clock, and I'd go back to sleep and think, I've got to get some sleep or I'm just going to be brain dead tomorrow. And I didn't, because my mind was whirling with all these ideas for what we were going to do in the manse when these visitors come. And so what I decided to do was make a list of all the schedule. And what I did is I went online and I looked up luxury train travel, and I looked at their schedule, like when you would go to the dining room, and when you would there would be games, when there'd be games, and when there'd be entertainment, and when you would tour this little town, or and I just adapted it to the manse and to the grounds around here, and decided to put them give them an itinerary. And I've been writing like furiously all these little notes, trying to get this all written up as to what we can be doing. And I did it from the train rides. I looked at the train rides, and these people paid $1,000, some of them, to go on some of these little trips from one little place to another. And so I thought maybe their itinerary might be pretty good. And so some of the things that we're going to be doing, we're going to go on a nature walk. We're going to be, but first, because I said it was a combination of the Inn of the Sixth Happiness, because it's Calm Village, then we have to have calmness here. It doesn't mean we don't talk about exciting ideas or principles, or talk about kind of debate certain things. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means we're not going to let the world and the media reports enter into it at all. We're going to make progress around here. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you had a friend and I had a friend, and we all had such big endeavors, such big projects that we were doing, that they loomed larger in our mind. They just filled our minds so much that when we heard some little piddly um, news report, like the forest over here is coming down the hill and flooding with a river, and it's going to flow into the ocean. Instead of getting all upset about that, that just like, oh, you know, and then our garden and our developing our property and our turning our house into an inn was just so much bigger that we could call each other and tell each other that we have almost completed it, that we almost have succeeded, and ignore all this because, of course, we can't do anything about it. But they like to keep us in a constant state of upheaval, so we will beg the powers that be to look after us. So what I decided to do was make an itinerary, and one of the things we would do would be taking a nature walk, and we also will have free time for shopping, and I have little shops in all the rooms with a little tag on it. I mean, some of it's free, but it's just things that I wanted to give away to the children and grandchildren, and I'll put a little tag on it, and we'll make our own money, our own play money, and buy it, and I'll be rich in the end. And then they will have, they'll play games, and we're going to have a couple of plays, and there's going to be a reception after they get here, in which we will make announcements and tell us, you know, what rooms certain things are going to happen. We'll have our exercise room, and we'll have exercises, and we'll have a 3-course dinner, and we will have, we'll be greeted with a little, we'll have, if you remember Fantasy Island, instead of me standing, I'll wear one of my nicer aprons, and I'll stand out on the front porch waiting for them all to arrive. And then, instead of saying, de plane, I will say, the van, the van. And then, as they all get out of the van, they will get a ticket so they can enter, and then they will be greeted with little goblets of beautiful sparkling apple juice, and they'll get to have that, and they'll get to take a tour of the manse, and we will also have singing in the evening, and we will have a treasure hunt. And this treasure hunt is going to be interesting because I don't think that we will have treasure maps, although I'm sure that they would like to learn to make treasure maps. So I'll give them something that they can hide. It'd probably be just some kind of little item of food, or maybe a paper key, or just something with a saying on it that they can find, and something that they're allowed to take home. And then they'll be allowed to, this is my own game, they'll be allowed to ask the person with the treasure map, and everybody will have a treasure map, and everybody will hide a treasure, and everybody will hunt for their treasures, and they're allowed to ask the person things about who, what, when, where, or whatever, to try to locate this this treasure. And then we will have everyone make a game, and these board games, they're all going to make a board game, and I'll show them how, and I'll show you how to. Now this is an old piece of, I had this tablet full of cardstock that was for scrapbooks and scrap paper making, and I've had this kind of stuff for years, and just sitting there because it's so pretty, and I didn't want to do anything with it. I thought, well, time is short, I'm just going to go ahead and use it. So I made a board game, and they're all going to learn how to make a board game, and this is my own game. So what I did, it's called the Calm Village, Journey to the Calm Village, and over here is Troubled Valley, and these are all the spaces that they have to go through to get to Calm Village, and there's the little village, and there's some different things that they do on the way. And for playing pieces, let me just get my stuff here. For playing pieces, now the way that I made the squares, before I found a piece of Lego that would have worked better, is I found out in America everything is round. All the jars are round, all the bottles are round, the trays, everything is round or oval here. We don't have squares. And but I found a spice bottle, which cinnamon, and I traced it on here for a square so I could make the playing. But you know, you could do circles, I guess. And then for a playing piece, I thought, oh, I don't have any playing pieces, so I put a little bit of a sticker on the cap, and the playing piece fits really nicely on here. You don't have to do that, but then I got to looking around at all my toys, and I found Duplos. Duplo, you could trace around that and make your board game. And then for playing pieces, well, you could use Duplos or Legos, or I found these little, you know how you can, at Hobby Lobby, you can get these little packages of, I guess they would be called party favors, you know, and this is a little car. Isn't that cute? And that gets to go on, this is somebody's playing piece. They might be able to take that home. Or you can find some of those blocks that children have, the little blocks. Or here's a nice playing piece too. It's a little teacup. So that's a lot less trouble. You don't have to worry about making stuff like that because it's all there. And so I'll read you a little bit about my game here. And we're not going to roll dice, and we're not going to draw a card or any numbers. We're just going to play with the playing pieces. And these little squares here will tell them what to do. So you start here at Troubled Valley, and then you go one space here. You go just one space, and it says, you've heard some discouraging words. You can't stay here. Go one space further. So they end up right here, and it says stop and shop. Now when they stop and shop, they get to go over to the box that has all the things in it with the tags on them that I'm pretending is my shop, and they get to buy one. So then they move. Each person gets a turn to move once. There's no dial and there's nothing like that. And so then they land on this. If they land on this one, it says picnic by the side of the road, and we'll have a picnic box full of all kinds of goodies, crackers and cheese and stuff, and so they can stop and go and look in that and get something. And then they land on this one, and it says stretch. So they have to stop and do a stretch exercise. And they keep going, and pretty soon they get to one of these. I've covered all the complaining ones in orange, although it's a nice color. It says you reach the complain campsite, so you have to move one space ahead. I don't let them stay on there because it's too much complaining. And this is the inn at Calm Village, and so this is going to be a place where when we complain, we learn to go past it. And then we land on smile, and then we land on compliments, and so they have to say something nice about the inn or about their grandma or about each other. What a way to get a compliment, huh? And then they move on, and they say it's time for bread and butter and hot tea, and there's a little teacup there, and so they have to stop for a minute and have a snack. And this game is fun, but this was just to show them how they could make a game, and their game could be called anything. It could be more adventurous. So they move a little bit further, and they have to stop and sing. Then they move a little bit further, and they land on contradicting, criticizing, complaining, hurry up and move one space ahead. And then this one is take a long, deep breath, and this one is scenery, draw a picture. And this is the one, birds, where you see the birds and hear them in the soft wind. So we'll open the door and kind of go outside and feel all that. And then it says almost there. And then here we have arrived at Calm Village, at the Manse, which is the inn at Calm Village, and where there are stories, soft chairs, and smiling faces. I wonder if that would just be too silly for them. But they can make up their own. And they're pretty smart, so everybody can draw their own little board game. It doesn't have to look like this. So I thought to give you that idea. I didn't make a treasure map. I thought that might be far-fetched for me, but they can do that. So here are some of the itinerary that I'm planning. I haven't quite written it all up yet. So they have the welcome. Remember, I'm going to say the van, and then they come in and they get to take their bags to the room of their choice. Now, I have not named all these rooms yet, but I really think I'll let them do that because I have the forest room, and let's just see what they come up with. That might be the fishing cabin. Every room will have, according to the feeling that they have when they get in here, you get to name the room, but they get to choose the room that they're going to stay in, and instead of being ushered to that room. and then they will be told they can have their food. If they want to have tea and something to eat in their room, they can, because I have a tray, and I have the kettle, and I have everything. They can make it themselves. We'll also include, if the weather is very bad outside, we will be on a train, and we'll be on a train trip. So that will be interesting. We'll do some things that they do on trains, and we won't be going on a nature walk. Now, nature walk will include everyone have a container of some kind, and we're going to pick up something, and they'll have to pick up a feather, an interesting shaped rock, some moss, flowers, anything that pine cones, any kind of tree cones, anything that they can find. That they might even find my old teacups sitting at the trunk of a tree. Anything that they can bring in and talk about. So that'll be sightseeing. But if the weather is bad, we will just go on the train instead, and that's just my own train here inside the house. And we'll have a 3-course dinner at night, and we'll have snacks in the afternoon, healthful looking snacks in the afternoon. Let me see what else I've written here. So with little children, these children are from 3 on up. But with little children, make a life for them and keep a diary of what they did. Now, after they leave, I will write them each a little booklet, and I will draw pictures for them to color of what they did when they were here to remind them. So say, here's what I did when I visited. I was in my room had this in it, etc. Just make up a story. So I'm trying to tinker with the names of the rooms, but I think I'll just let them name the rooms. Now I want to go into some social things here that you might want to think about, that just occurred to me during this time in which I've been so busy. I don't think I have been here for 5 or 6 days, and I do want to come here more often. But I was thinking about the Constitution, and how it says that we have a right to bear arms. Now, it is very interesting because to be well armed, the Bible talks about being armed because it talks about arm yourself with certain character qualities. So to bear arms doesn't necessarily mean something that fires off a shot. To be armed is anything that you can defend yourself with. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the era that you live in, the kind of weapon that is being used at that time, because it can be used. It can be anything throughout the ages. There were like in Christ's time, there was the sword, and there was and people have their hands, but to bear arms is anything that you use to defend yourself or to guard yourself. So to bear arms isn't necessarily the current fast-shooting weapon. It's anything that you can use to defend yourself. And I thought how important that is, because if they had said you have a right to carry a knife, then that would be what it would say, and you could get around that pretty easily. But it was to bear arms, and that means to carry something to guard and to defend yourself with. I think that's something worth thinking about today. And the other thing that we're going to do, I've been watching a video on tea, and remember I had told you about those teacups, and how that you had to hold them, the handle where your thumb and your fingers touched, and you don't necessarily grab it like a mug. And I found a video that is really, really good about that, and I will put the link on there for you, because that's the one that I'm going to watch and take some notes on, so that I can have a class for my visitors at the inn here, at the manse in Calm Village. And I will be teaching them that, because I don't want them to sit in front of a computer and watch the video with me. I'm going to be the one they watch. I'm just going to, so we can interact together better. So that is another thing that we're going to be doing. Of course, there will be real food with that. I'm sure that I have missed something here as I keep talking. I know that I wrote down quite a bit here. So that's what we will do. And now in social things, some of us at home, if you've been at home for years and years, you might have discovered this, that there are certain times in your life when every attempt to develop any kind of a friendship with someone fails. And you feel like maybe you should move away because you never have made any inroads in this place that you live. But what I would suggest you do instead is to turn to an interest and pursue it with your time and your thoughts and your diligence, and don't pay any attention to the lack of friendship in your life, and make a friend of your family. You'll be very glad that you did. You'll be very glad that they're your best friends, and try not to deal too much with the public because of the fact that they are so fickle, and they can like you for a while until they find out you don't agree with something, and then you've wasted a lot of time and effort. And so take that time that you've been trying to develop friendships. I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm just saying this is just one of the questions that I had about what about how over the years attempts at friendships have failed, and what to do. I said turn to an interest and pursue it with great diligence. When I think of that, the first thing that comes to my mind is get out all your fabric and sew it up. Start at the furthest end of your house and paint it in the way that you want it, and just start making progress in your life. All the things that have been bothering you for years, start cleaning them up and going through them and making, look at your kitchen with a critical eye and think, could things be different in here that would make it the kind that I want? And so use that time to develop. Also, use the time to develop yourself. I have mentioned this time and again about the challenge I have to come out of the other side of captivity with a little more knowledge and a little more strength and a little more confidence and more wisdom, and so that you're not so dependent on out there to supply all of your needs. Learn to style hair, learn to cut hair, learn to sew, now for sewing, I just want to give you a brief little bit of advice. If you're new at sewing and you saw something you want to sew, don't start your first project to be a dress with a lot of little pieces, and it's going to take a long time and going to make you cry and be frustrated because you have to undo things and everything. Start out with something that is very simple, not too much stuff on it, no set-in sleeves, and no facings. Just find a pattern and start with something like maybe an apron. Start with something that you can do and that you can achieve. When I had little children here around 8 years old, their mothers would let them come, and my daughter was with me too, and to learn to sew. And the first thing they would sew would be a pillow about this big, and we would stuff it and they could take it home. And the next thing they would sew would be a little bag that they could, with a shoulder strap, and it was only about so big, and a little strap, and they'd hand sew it. So they'd have something to take home, and they had success. And then we would sew a button on something that they could take home. And there were just many other little things until finally one day when they came, we made a skirt, and we hand sewed it. And it was just a skirt that had an elastic inserted in it, and that was all. As a matter of fact, I don't even think we hemmed it. We had it on the selvage at the bottom. So start out with something that you can do and get finished. And that's one of the reasons I like my art classes, is because we make a painting during that class, and it's like from 2 o'clock till 3:30, something like that. And when we're done, we're done. That painting is done. It's not going to be something that I'm going to look at and say I need to finish that. So if you're a beginner, make something that you can finish in that day, and that the next day you won't look at it and hate it and say I don't want to do it. So now to end this all, I'd like to encourage you all to be nice to each other at home, because they are the most important people. Those people out there in that world, they don't care about you, not at all, compared to your own people. And so be nice to each other at home. Um, make an in schedule for your family and have fun with it and practice with it. Do you ever think, if you ever were able to have some kind of event like that, you'd want to know how to do it. But this gives you a chance to show hospitality, to practice it so that you feel comfortable with it, and also to maybe provide a little, I guess you would call it a seminar, some kind of little teaching thing. And that's one of the things that we're going to do when they all come to the Calm Village. They are all going to have something, just a 5-minute talking, where they each get to tell me something or teach me something, and they all get to say it. We're also going to have an art class. I have the canvases, and we'll choose a subject, and I will mentor each one of them to make a painting. And they also will have a cooking class if they want to, and the boys will have some things to do that Papa has for them. And so I think that I have probably covered everything that you need to know. And I want to remind you again on some of you that have had some problems with social things, and as people become more inward and more self-focused because we're not out there in society, they can become more focused on you and a little bit obsessed with what you're doing. And I would like to emphasize things I have told you over and over again, is not to reveal too much, not to let out too much information about yourself. Don't even say, what I have noticed is if you even say something like, well, I've been a little tired lately, they'll take that and they're like, Emma said to Harriet, you take an idea, you run with it. And you have to be really on the alert for that sort of thing. This is something you can teach your children, that when people are saying things, don't grab a hold of it and let it sink in and use it as part of your belief system. I have seen that happen too. They'll draw conclusions that are so whacked out, and you wonder how they could do that with maybe one sentence someone said, and they'll take an idea and run with it. But another bad habit socially, I like to always talk about social things at the end of this series, is someone maybe saying some little thing where they describe maybe somewhere they had gone and were trying to get to their point, and another person took off with one of the words and went off on another tangent with it and thought that it was going to go somewhere that it wasn't, For example, I heard one lady say that her mother had gone to another state and was looking for a place to rent, but she was going to continue this story about how this woman had found a place, and the person that was listening to it, that was a recipient of this conversation, said, oh, well, why would she have to rent? You see, and didn't let her continue with the story. And this is one of the bad habits we have too, is let's just wait until we hear a thing. Isn't there something about Proverbs about how foolish it is to make a comment before we hear something, to make a judgment before we completely hear it, and to hear the people out and not stop in the middle and start an argument or a discussion about some little tangent on it. So if you have anything to say about that, please leave a comment. I don't have comments on the channel here, but you can go to the link that I provided in the description box for the post where I am embedding these videos. I am just using this as a holding place for my videos, and you can interact with me over there where I post it. So just click it on and then go listen to it there on the post, and you can leave a comment if you like. So ladies, I hope that this has been somewhat helpful to you, and I hope you'll save your old publications and keep your rooms full of memories and full of calmness, and you can make your home part of the Calm Village and provide a service to your family of calmness. And it's about impossible to stay away from the media. Somebody's going to tell you something. So what you have to do is have your mind so full of ambition for something that you want to do, or something that you want to learn, and have it to loom so large in your life that any kind of media report is just something that you think, oh, they're up to, foolishness. So, ladies, I hope that you will trust in God and not depend on the media for your mood or for ordering your day. Don't get up in the morning and see what the news is and say, well, this depends on this, how I feel today depends on what the news is. If I don't get good news, they're not ever going to give you good news, and they're going to make sure that it's worse next time. Once they see you've gotten used to it and you're happy at home, they're going to find something else to make you worry about running out of or shutting off. But more and more people are turning to the Lord, and God hears our prayers just like he did the captives in Egypt. So, ladies, I hope that you will have a wonderful day. Make yourself a list. Get dressed up. Look as great as you can. Don't think no one's going to see me. God sees you, and you see yourself too when you walk past a window. And get your house to be the most beautiful house on the block. I'll talk to you later. Bye.